Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Yeah, I'm
Today,
excited for this one.
oh yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Today, we are scaling some incredible heights, figuratively speaking, of course,
Right.
to explore the world of seed collection from forest trees,
Mm.
especially in the tropics.
Yeah.
Now, you might think it's as simple as just, you know, plucking a piece of fruit off of a tree, but we're about to uncover a world of challenges that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, that's right. It's so much more than just, grabbing a handful of fruit and calling it a day. Seed collection is a carefully orchestrated process
Right.
that takes into account everything from the genetics of the trees
Hmm.
to the unpredictable forces of nature.
Yeah, I was definitely picturing a much more casual approach when I first
Mhm.
heard about this topic. I'm already intrigued. So where do we begin?
Well, before we even think about climbing gear and all that,
Yeah.
you have to identify the right trees for collection.
Okay.
And that starts with understanding the concept of the mother tree.
The mother tree. I'm guessing this isn't just about picking the tallest tree in the forest.
You're catching on quickly. It's particularly important in tree breeding programs, where the goal is to cultivate trees with specific traits,
Okay.
like resistance to disease or faster growth rates.
Oh, okay.
In these cases, you need to make sure you're collecting seeds from trees that exhibit those desired characteristics. So you need to trace the lineage back to the source, the mother tree.
That makes sense. You want to start with the strongest genetic foundation possible. So are they basically looking for the superstar parent trees in the forest?
It's tempting to think that way, but it's not always so straightforward. Especially in natural forests, trees growing near each other are often related,
Right.
sharing a significant portion of their genetic makeup.
Okay.
Imagine you walk into a forest and you see a cluster of trees, one of which seems to be thriving more than the others.
Okay, so I'd probably assume that was the superstar and go for its seeds, right?
And that's where things get interesting. It might not be the genetic superstar you're looking for.
Oh,
That seemingly best-looking tree in the group might just have a slightly better microclimate
right.
or access to nutrients. In reality, it could be very closely related to its less robust neighbors, sharing much of the same genetic material.
Interesting. So picking the most visually impressive tree isn't necessarily the key to collecting the best seeds.
Right.
What does this mean for seed collectors then?
It means that effective seed collection requires a deep understanding of the forest's genetic diversity
Okay.
and family dynamics.
Family dynamics. Wow.
They need to carefully assess which trees are truly the most genetically diverse
Right.
and likely to produce offspring with a range of desirable traits.
So it's like a whole hidden world of relationships and connections within the forest that
Yeah.
you have to decode.
Exactly. And those relationships play a significant role in determining which trees are chosen for seed collection. But identifying the right trees is just the first step. Next, you have to actually get to the seeds. And that's where things get really challenging.
I bet. It's easy to forget how massive and structurally diverse trees can be.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's impossible to have a one-size-fits-all approach to climbing them.
You're absolutely right. You wouldn't approach a towering redwood the same way you would
Right.
a sprawling fig tree. Seed collectors need a diverse toolkit and a range of techniques
Yeah.
to navigate the incredible structural diversity of trees.
So what are some of the tools and techniques they use?
It can be as simple as using extended pruners to reach branches from the ground.
Okay, so like I'm picturing those long-handled tools that gardeners use, but on a much larger scale
Yeah.
and probably designed for tougher branches.
Yeah.
Okay. So if the branches are too high for even extended pruners, what then? Do they just start climbing?
Sometimes, but even climbing isn't always straightforward.
Right.
For taller trees, they might use something called a tree bicycle.
A tree bicycle.
Yeah.
That sounds incredible.
It is. It's a fascinating contraption
What is that exactly?
that uses a system of clamps and ropes that allows climbers to ascend the trunk safely
Wow.
and efficiently, even on very tall trees. But some tree shapes make even these specialized tools impractical.
What kind of shapes cause problems?
Well, imagine a tree with a wide umbrella-shaped crown,
Okay.
what you find on some acacia
Oh,
or albizia species.
I could see how that would be tricky.
Yeah,
You'd need an incredibly long safety line to reach the outer branches of a crown like that.
you would.
And anchoring yourself would be tough, too.
Precisely. These broad crowns make anchoring safety equipment difficult and increase the risk for climbers.
Yeah.
So collectors often have to get creative and adapt their techniques based on each individual tree's structure.
So it sounds like seed collectors have to be part botanist, part athlete, and part problem solver.
They are.
And I imagine the challenges don't stop there.
You're absolutely right. Trees have evolved some pretty impressive defenses to protect their precious seeds. And seed collectors often have to contend with those as well.
Defensive mechanisms? Like what? I'm picturing something out of a fantasy novel.
It might sound fantastical, but it's very real.
Okay.
Think thorns, spines, and even aggressive insects. Some trees are covered in thorns so large and dense, it's almost impossible to get near them.
Ouch, that sounds painful. Are there specific trees that are known for these defenses?
Oh, absolutely. Some of the most formidable include Acacia polycantha, with its incredibly dense thorns, and Xanthoxylum species,
Oh, wow.
which also have formidable spines. Then you have trees like bombax and erythrina species,
Okay.
which are notorious for harboring colonies of fiercely protective ants.
Ants. So it's not just the trees themselves you have to worry about,
Yeah.
but also their tiny guardians.
Exactly. And these aren't your average garden variety ants. We're talking about ants that swarm and attack anything that disturbs their home.
Wow.
Imagine trying to collect seeds while being bombarded by thousands of angry ants.
Oh, that's terrifying. Yeah. I'm starting to understand why you said seed collection is so much more than just picking fruit.
Yeah.
So how do collectors even approach these well-defended trees? Do they wear special suits of armor?
Well, maybe not a full suit of armor, but they definitely don't go in unprepared.
Okay.
Protective clothing, thick gloves, and plenty of insect repellent are essential when tackling these thorny adversaries.
I bet. It's like suiting up for battle.
It's a good analogy. And we haven't even factored in the wild card that can make or break any seed collection effort: the weather.
Right. Mother Nature has a mind of her own. I imagine a sudden downpour would make climbing a tree pretty treacherous.
Absolutely. Wet conditions make bark slippery, increasing the risk of falls. And then there's the wind. Even a moderate breeze can make it incredibly difficult to control tools and equipment.
And strong winds could blow the seeds you're trying to collect all over the place.
Exactly. It would be like trying to catch snowflakes in a blizzard.
Right.
Seed collectors have to be constantly aware of the weather conditions
Mm-hmm.
and adjust their plans accordingly.
So what are the ideal conditions for seed collection? I'm guessing a calm, sunny day is at the top of the list.
You got it. Dry weather is definitely the gold standard. Luckily, many tropical trees time their fruiting with the dry season,
Okay.
which makes things a bit easier. But even then, collectors often have to get an early start
Right.
to take advantage of the optimal conditions.
Why the early start? What's so special about the morning?
Well, for one thing, early mornings tend to have less wind,
Okay.
which makes climbing safer and collecting seeds much easier. They also tend to be cooler, which makes for a more comfortable working environment.
Right.
And the brighter light in the early hours makes it easier to spot target trees
Okay.
and navigate the often dense forest undergrowth.
So it's a combination of safety, comfort, and efficiency. It all makes sense now.
Exactly. Seed collectors have to make the most of those ideal conditions because, as we've discussed, there are plenty of factors working against them.
It's a testament to their dedication and the importance of their work.
It truly is. And the next time you see a tree,
Yeah.
perhaps you'll view it with a newfound appreciation for the journey those seeds took to get there.
I know I will.
But the journey doesn't end there.
Right.
Seed collection is just the first step
Right.
in a much longer process.
I'm all ears. What happens to the seeds once they're collected? So we followed these seed collectors through thorny forests and up impossibly tall trees, braving ants and wind to collect these precious packages. What happens next? Do the seeds just go straight into the ground?
If only it were that simple. Think of it this way. You wouldn't buy a bunch of apples, toss them in a drawer, and expect them to be fresh months later.
Right.
Seeds need special care too.
That makes sense. So what's the next step in this botanical adventure?
Processing and storage are crucial to ensure the seeds remain viable and ready to germinate when the time is right.
Okay.
First, they need to be cleaned and sorted, removing any debris, damaged seeds, or even insects that might have hitched a ride.
It sounds like there's a surprising amount of detail involved.
There is. You have to consider the unique characteristics of each species. Some seeds have wings or other appendages
Right.
that need to be carefully removed. Others have fleshy fruits that require special treatment to extract the seeds without damaging them.
I'm picturing a team of botanical surgeons meticulously operating on these tiny seeds.
It's a delicate process for sure. And the work doesn't stop there. Once the seeds are cleaned and sorted, they need to be dried
Okay.
to the right moisture content.
Why is drying so important?
Excess moisture can lead to mold, decay,
Right.
and ultimately a failed seed. Each species has its own ideal moisture level for storage,
Okay.
and finding that sweet spot is key to preserving viability.
So it's a balancing act. Too much moisture is bad, but too little could damage the seed as well.
Precisely. And once the seeds are properly dried, they're carefully packaged and labeled, often with details about the mother tree, the collection date, and other important information.
It's like creating a botanical library, with each seed holding valuable genetic information. What happens to this library of seeds next?
Many are stored in specialized seed banks, which act as repositories for the genetic diversity of our forests.
Okay.
These banks are like fortresses, designed to protect the seeds from environmental fluctuations,
Wow.
pests, and even natural disasters.
It sounds like something out of a spy movie. But seriously, it makes sense. These seeds represent the future of our forests, so it's crucial to protect them.
Exactly. And within those seed banks, some seeds are earmarked for research,
Okay.
helping scientists understand the complexities of tree genetics and how different species might adapt to a changing climate.
Now that you mentioned climate change, I'm curious, does the changing climate impact seed collection in any way?
That's a great question, and the answer is a resounding yes. Seed collection isn't just about preserving existing forests. It's about proactively preparing for the future.
What do you mean?
As the climate changes, some tree species may struggle to survive in their current habitats. Seed collectors are working to identify and collect seeds from trees that show resilience to drought, heat, pests, and other climate-related stresses.
So it's about finding the trees that are best equipped to handle the challenges of a warming world, almost like assembling a team of botanical superheroes to combat climate change.
That's a great way to put it. These climate-resilient seeds are then used in reforestation projects, helping to create more resilient ecosystems that can withstand the challenges of a changing world.
It's amazing to think about the ripple effect of this work. Each seed collected has the potential to grow into a tree that provides oxygen, cleans the air, supports countless other species, and helps mitigate the impacts of climate change.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of everything in nature, doesn't it?
It does, and it makes me think about the tools and techniques used to collect these seeds. Earlier, you mentioned that collectors sometimes resort to shooting branches down. That sounds a bit extreme.
It does sound a bit dramatic, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
not as common as other methods. But it can be surprisingly effective for certain types of trees,
Okay.
particularly those with very tall, straight trunks and small seeds that would be difficult to collect by climbing or using pruners.
So how does it work? Do they literally use shotguns?
They do, but these aren't your typical hunting shotguns. They use specialized shotguns that fire projectiles designed to break off branches without causing lasting damage to the tree itself.
It sounds like a technique that requires a lot of skill and precision.
You're absolutely right. It takes a lot of training and experience to hit the right spot on the branch
Right.
and ensure a clean break without harming the tree.
I can see why it's only used in specific situations
Yeah.
where other methods aren't feasible. It's fascinating how seed collectors have adapted and innovated over the years to develop such a diverse range of techniques.
It is. And their ingenuity extends beyond just collection methods. They're also constantly researching and developing new ways to process and store seeds, maximizing their viability, and ensuring that they're ready to sprout into healthy trees when planted.
It sounds like the work of seed collectors involves a fascinating blend of science, adventure, and a deep respect for the natural world.
It absolutely does. It's a field that requires a unique combination of skills
Yeah.
and a passion for preserving the incredible diversity of our planet's forests.
I'm starting to think that seed collectors are the unsung heroes of conservation, working tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that our forests have a fighting chance in the face of so many challenges.
I think you're right. They often work in remote and challenging conditions,
Yeah.
facing thorny trees, pesky insects, and unpredictable weather. Yet their dedication is unwavering because they understand the profound importance of their work.
It's truly inspiring.
And speaking of inspiration, there's one more aspect of seed collection I think you'll find particularly interesting.
Okay.
It has to do with the concept of assisted migration.
Assisted migration. I'm intrigued. What does that involve? Assisted migration. It sounds almost like something out of a science fiction novel. What exactly does that entail?
It might sound futuristic, but it's a very real strategy being used to help forests adapt to the rapidly changing climate. Remember how we talked about collecting seeds from trees that show resilience to drought, heat, and other climate stresses?
Yes, those botanical superheroes you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Well, assisted migration takes that concept a step further.
Okay.
It involves moving those climate-resilient seeds to new areas that are projected to become suitable habitats for those species as the climate changes.
So it's like giving those trees a helping hand, relocating them to areas where they have a better chance of thriving in the future.
Precisely. It's a proactive approach to conservation,
Okay.
recognizing that the forests of the future may look quite different from the forests of today.
It's fascinating, but I imagine it also raises some ethical questions.
Yeah.
How do you determine which species should be moved and where they should go? Are there risks involved in introducing trees to new environments?
You've hit on some of the key challenges with assisted migration. It's
Mhm.
not a decision to be taken lightly. There's a lot of research and careful consideration
Right.
that goes into identifying suitable candidate species
Yeah.
and ensuring that their introduction won't disrupt the existing ecosystems.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act, weighing the potential benefits of helping species adapt with the potential risks of unintended consequences.
Absolutely. Assisted migration is a complex and evolving field,
Yeah.
and there's still much to learn,
Yeah.
but it highlights the innovative thinking and proactive
All
approaches
right.
that are being explored to help forests thrive in the face of unprecedented environmental change.
It's both inspiring and a little bit daunting to think about the scale of the challenge and the complexities involved in finding solutions. As we wrap up our deep dive into the world of seed collection, is there one key message you hope listeners will take away from our conversation?
If there's one thing I hope you remember, it's that seed collection is a crucial piece of the puzzle when it comes to conserving and restoring our forests, especially as we face the growing threat of climate change.
Right.
It's a process that demands careful planning, meticulous execution, and a deep understanding of the intricate relationships within forest ecosystems.
It's so much more than just picking fruit, as we've learned. It's a field that combines science, adventure, and a deep respect for the natural world. From selecting the right mother trees to scaling towering giants, from navigating thorny defenses to battling unpredictable weather, seed collectors are the unsung heroes working tirelessly to ensure the future of our forests.
And their work extends far beyond the forest itself.
Right.
The seeds they collect have the potential to restore degraded landscapes, mitigate climate change, and inspire future generations to appreciate the interconnectedness of all living things.
It's a powerful reminder that even the smallest acts, like collecting a handful of seeds, can have a profound impact on the health and resilience of our planet.
So the next time you see a towering tree, consider the incredible journey that tiny seed took to get there. It's a story of resilience, adaptation, and the unwavering dedication of those who work tirelessly to protect our planet's precious forests.
Well, thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and remember, every seed holds the potential for a greener, healthier future.